Hi all, Adi here from Haunts and Johns. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I'm in deepest, darkest Belgium and I'm in the medieval city of Ghent. So I'm going to take you to a few different places today and I'm going to show you around. I will do a voiceover. It's quite busy here because it's Christmas market time. So yeah, let's have a little medieval adventure. In today's video, we're going to be visiting Castle of the Counts, this medieval castle here. We're then going to go and visit St. Nicholas Church and have a look around that. We'll then go on a little boat trip and a quick look around Ghent's Christmas market. I do hope you enjoy. This is the Castle of the Counts, also known as Gravensteen. It stands in the historic centre of Ghent, one of the most important cities of medieval Europe. And one of the things to know if you are coming here is that it is not that easy to get around. So if you have any mobility issues, it's probably not for you, or if you've got bad knees, there's an awful lot of stairs and it was hard work getting up there. So you need a reasonable level of fitness. At Christmas time, the castle is decorated with all this lovely seasonal lighting and modest festive displays. So while these additions soften the appearance of the harsh stone walls, the structure itself, as you can see, remains a very clear example of medieval military architecture. Gravensteen was never intended to be decorative. It was designed to demonstrate authority. I've got this lovely knight's set of armour. Unfortunately, a lot of, well, all of it was written in Flemish, the displays, so we couldn't read it. And we didn't realise until we got out that they do actually provide you with an audio tour as you go around. So if you do visit, be sure to pick one of those up. They had a very impressive display in this museum section of medieval weapons, and they had some torture equipment in here as well. But obviously they've changed up the displays a little bit because of Christmas. Look at these arrows, and they're magnificent. The earliest fortification on this site dates back to the late 9th century. At that time, the region was under frequent threat from Viking raids, so a wooden stronghold was originally constructed to provide defence and control over the surrounding settlement. The castle, as it appears today, was largely built in 1180 by Philip of Alsace, Count of Flanders. Now, apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Don't come at me. And when you get up the top here, guys, you can see a wonderful view all across the castle. So Philip had returned in 1180 from the Crusades, and he was influenced by what he saw and by the stone fortresses he encountered in Eastern Mediterranean. His intention was not only a military defence, but also a very strong political message. The castle was deliberately made to look so imposing with its thick walls, high keep and narrow entrances, and they were designed to communicate his power to the citizens of Ghent, a city that was frequently resisted noble authority. During the Middle Ages, Ghent was a really large and one of the wealthiest cities in Europe. Its economy was driven by the cloth trade mainly, and its citizens held significant influence, and you can still see remnants of that today. The independence often brought the city into conflict with its rulers. Gravensteen served as a constant reminder that ultimately authority rested with the Count of the County of Flanders. So the castle functioned as both a residence and an administrative centre where legal proceedings were held here. Prisoners were also detained here and sentences were issued within the walls. It's not a palace in the modern sense, it was more a fortified seat of governance. And there's a big well over there to the right, and there was this privy As you can see, it dropped right down into the river. Couldn't believe they had to put a sign up to tell people that they couldn't go to the toilet, but you know how it is. But I really felt this section was really, really haunted. I didn't experience anything, but I really did feel uneasy, shall we say. So inside the castle, where we've just been, the Great Hall was used for official gatherings and judicial matters, and the scale of the castle reflects the importance of public authority during this period. And as you can see, I'm still going up even more steps. The castle contains prison cells, interrogation rooms, and these spaces were functional, they weren't just symbolic. I do think they've done a fantastic job though decorating it for Christmas, don't you think? And this room would have been the chapel. The methods of punishment that were used during the medieval period were very harsh by modern standards. Today, the castle displays historical instruments that were associated with medieval enforcement, but these exhibits, I believe, are taken out for a month over the Christmas period so they can put on these beautiful displays. So by the 14th century, Gravenssteen's role as a residence had declined and it primarily became a courthouse and a prison. But over time, the castle lost its political importance. So at this point, the castle was no longer really viewed as a historic monument. But by the late 19th century, attitudes towards preservation began to change, and the city of Ghent initiated a large-scale restoration of Gravensteen, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Below ground level, the castle contains prison cells and interrogation rooms. These spaces were functional and weren't just symbolic. The castle is associated with a number of reported hauntings. These accounts typically describe unexplained sounds, changes in the temperature, and the sensation of being watched, particularly in the lower levels of the building. And that is exactly what I felt down here, especially over in that right-hand corner. I didn't hear anything or feel a change of temperature, but it was definitely creepy. So stories often focus on former prisoners or guards, but there's no specific individuals named and there's no really documented historical records. So although there's no physical evidence to support these claims, they do remain, this story is part of the local folklore rather than established history. However, the castle's long use as a prison and a site of punishment and execution just contributes to its reputation. During the Christmas season, when they put all the decorations up, it really was presented in a way that contrasts with the castle's original purpose. I really feel like they highlighted all the architectural features and the decorations were restrained and very historically neutral. The castle doesn't attempt to romanticise its past. Instead, it really stands as a record of authority, conflicts and governance in medieval Flanders. And this is the entrance into the castle. As you can see, beautifully decorated. And from the 6th of December till the 4th of January, they transform, it only happens this time of year, the former stables down the bottom of the castle into the winter bar. Isn't it absolutely stunning? It's a fantastic place, 1,000 years old, to sit and eat your lunch. The prices were really very good. The food was delicious. We had sandwiches and some soup. Very nice. The staff were absolutely wonderful, really helpful, really friendly, and we really enjoyed our lunch. So after we finish up our lunch here, we're going to head to St Nicholas and have a look around the church there. Now I'm just going to make my way to the Corn Market, which is the historic centre of Ghent, and it's surrounded by many buildings that reflect the centuries of commercial and civic life here in Ghent. So St Nicholas Church is one of the oldest churches in the city, and it is historically tied to Ghent's development as a major medieval trading centre. The earliest church on this site dates to the early Middle Ages. It was originally constructed in the Romanesque style using local stone and served a growing population of merchants and craftsmen. The current structure was largely built between the late 13th and early 15th centuries. During this period, Ghent was one of the largest cities in Northern Europe, and its wealth allowed for ambitious architectural projects. So St Nicholas Church was rebuilt in the Gothic style, a regional form of Gothic architecture characterised by thick walls, relatively compact proportions, and the use of blue-grey stone from the Tournai region. The church is dedicated to St Nicholas, who's the patron saint of merchants, sailors and travellers, and this dedication is obviously not accidental, because the Corn Market where the church stands was historically a centre of grain trade and commercial exchange. Merchants working nearby would have attended services here, so the church functioned as both a spiritual and social anchor for the trading community. Unlike a cathedral, St Nicholas Church was not the seat of a bishop, it was just a parish church closely connected to everyday urban life. But architecturally, the church is defined by its central tower, which rises above the surrounding market square. This tower once served as a lookout point and was visually linked to nearby civic buildings, including the Belfry of Ghent, which is just behind it. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to visit it this time. The layout follows a traditional basilica plan. The nave is flanked by side aisles, and it had a wonderful display here. Again, I couldn't find any information, but look at these beautifully carved chairs. It just shows how much wealth this city had back in medieval time. Like much of Ghent, St Nicholas Church experienced periods of decline and recovery, and during the 16th century, religious conflict affected the building. Movements associated with the Reformation led to the destruction of religious imagery across the Low Countries, and the church was not spared. Later, during the French Revolutionary period, the church was secularised and it was used as a stable and storage space, and much of its interior furnishing was removed or damaged. By the 19th century, it was in a very poor condition, but a large-scale restoration began in the late 19th and 20th centuries, reflecting a growing interest in preserving medieval architecture. These restoration efforts were extensive and continue in phases to this day. As a result, parts of the church reflect modern conservation practices along original medieval stonework. The goal has not been to recreate a single historical moment, but to stabilise the structure and preserve its long architectural history. Unlike some of Ghent's largest churches, St Nicholas remains a relatively quiet presence. It's still an active place of worship while also remaining open to visitors. There's no huge display and very little signage. That's why I couldn't find out much as I was going around. The building is meant to be experienced directly through its space, material and scale. And although it's Christmas time, the church is very modestly decorated. Lighting is restrained and seasonal elements do not really alter how it looks all year round. St Nicholas Church reflects the practical spirituality of a medieval trading city. It was built by and for the people who lived and worked around it. It has endured religious upheaval, political change and urban transformation, but today it remains where it has always been, at the centre of Ghent's daily life. Not a monument to power, but as a record of continuity for the community. They're two words that were guaranteed to tongue-tie me, weren't they? Community and continuity. And next we're going to head out and do a little boat trip around medieval Ghent.
Ein besonderes Privileg, das Stapelrecht auf das Getreide. Von allem Getreide, das transportiert wurde über die Flüsse und Kanäle von Gent. So the grain that I was telling you about was stored here in the grain storehouse, the grey facade on your left side. Dates back from the year 1200 and has been used as a grain storehouse until 17. So here on the right side, the Dominican monastery, 13th century. In those days it was a kind of welcome center for the poor people. In 1963 the University of Ghent bought this complex and now it's a cultural center. But during und nebenin seine Zwillingsschwestern. So hier 1 Kilometer weiter kommen die beiden zusammen. Im 7. Jahrhundert siedelten die Kelten an diesem Zusammenfluss an und sie nannten diesen Ort Ganda. Daher kommt der Name Gent. Ganda Gent, so eigentlich bedeutet Gent. Come together, they conflude. In the 7th century the Celts were there and they called this confluence Ganda. There that the name Gent comes from. Ganda Gent, so in fact Gent means confluence. Jahr 1180. Für Generationen war es die Residenz von den Grafen und Gräfinnen von Flandern, aber das Gebäude hat noch viele andere Funktionen gehabt. So war es zum Beispiel für sehr lange Zeit ein Polizeikontrolle. Tell us some stories about the life of Charles V. Charles V, the Emperor, which was born here in Ghent in the year 1500. The Holy Emperor born in Ghent.
One sec. Okay, come on.
Thousands of people come here to pray for the Holy Rita. The Holy Rita is the patron saint of the hopeless cases. The patron saint of the hopeless cases, and I used to ask the passengers, "Wait, do I need to drop somebody here?" And then most of the time the men point at their women and the other way around, so I don't do that anymore. That's too much trouble on the boat. City in Flanders, each house was built in wood. Only the rich people could afford brick-built houses. And under the emperor it was forbidden to build more wooden houses to avoid the city fires. It was too dangerous.
And as the sun sets, the city comes to life at Christmas time. You can see the Ferris wheel there in the distance. And I just think at night time it just adds to that fairy tale feeling. And Gravensteen, the castle, that also gets lit up. So we headed into the Christmas market. It's one of our favourites in Ghent. It's busy, but it's not unbearably busy like it is in nearby Bruges. It's a wonderful atmosphere, loads of selection of different types of food and drinks, and it wasn't too badly priced, in fairness. They also have an ice rink if you fancy giving that a go. Not for me. I can't ice skate, and I just love the contrast between the new and the old. Look at that. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to wrap the video up here. I do hope you enjoyed my video from the beautiful medieval city of Ghent. Definitely worth a visit, and just coming at Christmas time with all the lights just makes it all the more special. If you did enjoy it, if you could please like and subscribe, I really would appreciate it. And you could hit the hype button down below. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps my little channel and helps the algorithm. And if you want to support the channel a little bit further, down in the description is a link to the Buy Me a Coffee. So again, thanks for watching, and I shall see you for the next one.